So, namaste and welcome to Satsang this evening here. I really grateful to be here with you all, and unfortunately, we had to cancel the last Satsang. This body was a little unwell, the Satsang before retreat, so it feels like a long time since we've been together in Satsang. So it's really lovely to be all here together. Um, and Somebody asked me earlier to speak about a particular subject today in Satsang because I think it can be a very confusing part of awakening, and it was for me. And that is this idea that we can. What do we do when a strong emotion comes up? If a strong emotion comes to the surface, a negative emotion, and we find um, that perhaps the spiritual guidance in that moment is to remain as our real nature, to bring attention back to awareness, to bring attention back to presence, whatever we're calling the mystery of our being, whatever we're calling that. And sometimes when we've spoken about this, people will ask, isn't that avoiding feeling the emotion? If I have this strong emotion in my system, and I want to allow it, I don't want to suppress it. What do I do in that moment? And is bringing attention back instead to what is real, our awareness, the consciousness, the formless presence, is that an avoidance of the emotion? And it felt like that for me as well. At first, when I first started to really be able to notice what was real, the intangible, infinite essence that we all are. But actually, it became clearer over time that staying as our real nature, resting as the stillness, the consciousness that we are, resting as awareness, is in fact the only way that we can really feel the emotion without any avoidance at all, without any um, resistance to it, without any separation to it. It's only as awareness, and I'm gonna call it awareness, what we are. It has no name, has 100,000 names. So just pick whatever name you like, noumenon, God, divinity, beingness. But only when we rest as awareness, when we notice the essence, the deepest core essence of who we are, is there actually then any way to actually really be with something? I mean, I'm using the example of an emotion, but it could be anything. It could be some pain in the physical body, it could be some thoughts going on, sensations. Even if we have a loud noise coming from the next door neighbors, for example, it's going to be, and if we're interacting with whatever it is as a separate being, then we're going to find that is resistance. Separation is resistance. Resistance is in separation, always. So, how do we honor the emotion or the situation, but not avoid it at all? It is to recognize what we really are. Because awareness isn't separate to any other thing at all. It may feel like the awareness and the emotion are two different things completely. But if you really examine that, if you really try to find where awareness stops and where the emotion starts, we won't really be able to find it. The emotion is simply awareness in disguise. And it's only as awareness that we really can absolutely honor and meet this emotion without the usual ways we deal with emotion of either suppressing it or projecting it onto, unconsciously, of course, we project these emotions onto other beings. We might get I certainly got myself into trouble with anger and things like that, projecting it onto other beings. However we feel, when an emotion rises or something happens in our body, we'll be able to know immediately if we are uh, coming from separation, because our body will tell us if we're feeling anything less than wonderful, then we have some degree of separation. And most of us have only really learnt to suppress or resist an emotion. And of course, we all, that's the only way we know. So as we progress down the spiritual pathway to awakening, we might hear and experience ourselves that it's a really good idea to be able to feel these emotions. And sometimes, as I was saying, that seems to conflict with the advice we've been given to rest as awareness. As awareness, we're being that vast, open, infinite presence of divinity in which the body and the emotion are arising. And only from there can we allow the fullness of any emotion, the intensity of it. Because sometimes they're intense, right? I remember my own journey, there was a lot of fear, anger, despair, shame, you name it. It was all there. And sometimes the fear would be so strong that it felt like I just couldn't really be with it. And my mind said, oh, if you notice the awareness, you're avoiding the emotion. And nothing could be further from the truth. Actually, from awareness as awareness, only then can all the energies that need to move, the emotions and everything, and the body can handle these things from there, because we're not being, or not sustaining the sense of a separate being, at least in those moments when attention is on what is real. So, as paradoxical as it may seem, that to bring attention seemingly away from the emotion and to awareness in that moment, that awareness is encapsulating the emotion that's sitting inside it, that's being felt. The body and the emotion are inside awareness that we are. And that's why in our meditation we bring attention back to what is real over and over again. That's why in the real place of what is true, awareness, there is no karma, there is no tendencies, no things that we have to undo. Why? Because there can be no separation there. There can be no separation between myself and anything else, yourself and anything else. So not only is it the only place where we simply can't suffer as the infinite self, the awareness, we can't suffer. But also in that moment when we are resting as awareness, where everything is happening inside of us, inside of the great being that we are, rather than happening to me as a person, as someone, where I'm not trying to get anywhere in that moment or become anything. I'm just being what I already am when I'm resting as awareness. Then there's going to be, only then, there's going to be no karma at all, no karmic patterns at all. They may sound strange, that these patterns and ways of thinking and feeling about ourselves and the world and other beings, relating our sense of separate self to the world, we all have our ways of doing that. It sounds strange that when we actually recognize who we are, those patterns are just absent, gone. Does karmic patterns exist? Does karma exist? Well, yes, if I am a separate being, or at least coming, approaching this moment as a separate someone, a person, there seems to be a lot of problems then that exist. And no, it doesn't exist as who I really am. Because there is no other then. There's only this one being expressing itself, experiencing itself as all of these forms. So, from the simplest place, which is the awareness, where there's only awareness, and all the shapes that it's making, all the forms that awareness is appearing as, even as the emotions, the thoughts, also made of awareness, the bodies, the trees, the animals, everything. There is nothing else in awareness. From there, whatever needs to move can move. Whatever shape awareness is taking, it can naturally take the highest shape then, and doesn't necessarily have to linger in our experience. So paradoxical as it is that when we rest as awareness, there is no emotion really that we need to allow, and yet somehow it gets allowed. This is not a denial. We're not denying the presence of fear or shame or anger or whatever it is that's going on for us. But as awareness, we see only awareness. We see awareness disguised as fear or anger or shame or whatever, as physical pain, as a body, as a contraction, or whatever is going on, thoughts. So it's the simplest place and also the most effective place to hang out as, to be the awareness. What does that mean? Well, it means to notice, first of all, that there is something intangible and formless in the background of every experience. That which is listening to these words and that which is speaking these words is not a separate being. It is the same awareness that's listening as is speaking. And even if you watch this satsang 10 years from when we recorded it, still it will be the same being, the one being. There is nothing else from there. So I wanted to just take a little time to hopefully shed some light on that, because a lot of people ask, isn't it bypassing an emotion? Isn't it avoiding an emotion if I rest as awareness? Isn't it avoidance from there? And in reality, it's the only time we're not avoiding or bypassing. As an apparent separate being, whenever we think about anything, we're not actually experiencing it. Thinking about something is the most efficient way to bypass anything. And, for me, as it is for everyone, or was for everyone, I went through my whole life bypassing reality, experiencing a world of what I thought was going on, experiencing the world of thoughts in my head about what's going on out here and in here, experiencing who I thought you were rather than actually meeting you. And it was absolutely incredible when I began to realize I've never experienced reality. I've been in avoidance of it. Of course, we all are until we're not. So only from awareness, as awareness, can we no longer bypass or avoid anything. And you can feel that when you're resting as awareness, the energetic system is open and the body is more relaxed and the energies can move. Whatever needs to work its way through can work its way through. So try it out, test it out. Quite often in in reality, things are so paradoxical to what we're taught. We're taught that by bringing attention to the emotion, it's going to be able to dissipate. And that will work for a while, but the more that you wake up to the truth, the more you see who you are, the more you put attention on anything, it's going to get bigger. It's going to get more intense, simply because the whole power of the infinite self, the awareness that's infinite, is shining this light of truth and investing all this power into this emotion. And it's going to become more intense. It's impossible for it to ever come to an end then. It might disappear back under the surface for a while, whatever it is, fear or for me, there's a lot of anger and fear, shame. But it's got to come back up because we haven't really met it as awareness. Awareness recognizing itself as awareness. The mind will look at some emotion and give it a label. Fear. This is fear. I know what this is. But awareness will look at this thing as and recognize itself. And only from there can it actually change. So if that is useful to you, then take it and use it. And if it's not, don't. But I just wanted to address it before I open it up in a minute for questions, if there are any questions. But because it's come up twice already this week, I've been asked twice already this week this very same thing about bypassing and avoiding. And it really wasn't clear for me when I first started out on the journey. Well, for a long time down the journey. So, okay. So if there are any questions or challenges and that you're going through and you'd like to discuss, feel free to raise your hand. We'll start with Mitra.
Hi, Helen.
Hi, love.
Thank you so much for that amazing retreat. I had a very challenging time, but it was the most amazing I've done so far. Things are still opening up.
I think I remember in the retreat I was sharing about the time I was a student
Yeah.
and the journey from this is going to be amazing on day one of the retreat, and then day two, I'm in hell, get me out of here, I'm never coming back again. Day three, um, I'm leaving. Where's my car keys, you know? And then day four, I don't want to go home. It's so bizarre, isn't it, retreats?
Honestly, I was like, can we have this for 10 days? Like, really? Or more often, at least. It does something. I don't know what it does, but it's doing something. And
Mm-hmm.
I was in peace and joy for 2 days afterwards as well. Today I'm okay, but I don't know. I don't want to get too attached also, as you suggested, to this. But I had a question about what you just talked, because when an emotion comes up, um, going deeper into it didn't work, and you just clarified that, because as you wake up more, then you know. So when I go to that awareness, then I never could actually separate the emotion from the awareness. And I always wonder, what do people mean that awareness is already free? You yourself as well, like awareness is already free, or awareness is at peace. But at the time when I go to awareness, I actually don't at all feel the freedom and the peace that is already there. I only feel the emotion.
Let's have a look now. Let's have a look for the awareness that you are. Let's tune into that. What happens to your body when you notice awareness rather than thoughts?
A lot of vibrations and movements of
Mhm.
energy.
Can you suffer here as awareness?
No, but right now I don't have strong emotions. But yeah, I guess when I do have emotions, yes, I don't suffer because I'm just with that sensations and energies.
So as awareness, as you're experiencing now, even if a strong emotion came, could you suffer from it? If suffering is from the sense of being separate to something, if all of our suffering is from this core division of feeling separate to something, um, and in this case, we're talking about an emotion. Can you suffer as awareness? Can awareness be separate to anything, even a strong emotion?
No, it can't be. Otherwise, how would I know I'm suffering?
So, as awareness, there's nothing separate at all, even if the mind would call it a strong emotion in the body. It's not experienced with in the same way when we're coming from awareness. There's no capacity to push against it or even, welcome it, really. It's just what is, and there's no capacity to suffer there. You said yourself, in fact, very wisely, that I couldn't find the difference between the emotion and the awareness when you
Yeah.
look.
So if I do that, like when I'm suffering, I'll go into awareness. And then obviously in the beginning, I will feel the emotion, and then it starts dissipating, becoming less.
But even if it doesn't, the suffering isn't from the emotion. The suffering is from the sense of being separate to that emotion, the sense of having me and an emotion. And when we're resting as awareness, there's no capacity to have that sense of feeling separate to anything. So you cannot suffer there. The
Oh,
person,
that's
the person or the separate being is an act of it's made up of all the things it's pushing away or trying to grab. Whichever of these ones it's doing, the person, it's in separation, right? There's this thing outside of me I want to keep, bliss or peace, or there's this thing I want to get rid of, fear or shame. So the person is always in argument with this moment, always. There's always going to be a sense of separation and therefore suffering constantly. So if we realize it's not actually the fear that we're suffering from, it's the sense of feeling separate to it that emphasizes a division within ourselves that just doesn't exist. There's me and fear. In my imagination, there's me and fear. But when we rest as awareness, we can't find any boundary between myself and the emotion. Myself as awareness, appearing as this emotion. So there can be no suffering possible.
okay. And this is not bypassing.
If it's the only time we're not bypassing, actually, interestingly, isn't it? Which is really opposite to what the mind says, you know? So
Okay, so that's very interesting.
test it out, right? Next time something comes for you.
Okay,
You can even do it with a thought. If I'm noticing the awareness in which the thought is arising, the thought won't bother me at all. If I'm being a someone, a person in that moment, it'll be my thought, it'll be me and a thought. And there's two things there, and a separation in that, a division in that.
that's right.
That's always where the suffering comes from.
Thank you so much, Helen.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Wonderful. Michael?
I,
Hi, love.
so yeah, this feels like a post retreat here too. So it's beautiful, and in the retreat I had mentioned how everything I perceive is like a thought too. So what you're pointing to, I feel, is even when I conceptualize something, Helen, phone, lamp, there's a little, almost like not looking at emotion. There's a contraction there to make it into something separate. And it's the same thing as not looking to an emotion, not wanting to, but when you turn to it, then everything that I'm conceptualizing as separate from me, there's a there's a willingness to see everything instead of like the fear, I guess, creates the separation and calls it tree, body, and it's more than the emotions. It's more than the thoughts. It's everything. It's the mind. It's this machine as well that is making things into concepts. It's everything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I can remember when, I mean, I couldn't tell you the date on the calendar, but I remember having a realization that literally I hadn't actually met anything or anyone. I've been only experiencing this world of concepts in my head, and suddenly I didn't want to do that anymore once I'd recognized it felt very limiting all of a sudden rather than safe. And um, there was this rich intimacy then. Here's myself awareness appearing as this tree, as this bed, as this human being, as this, um, whatever and everything from the most mundane thing that the mind would call mundane, at least. Seeing the aliveness, even in that, the things that we take for granted all the time. It's very, very different, isn't it? There's some rich intimacy there because there's no separation in that. There's the
Yeah,
fullness of this moment. Yeah.
maybe it's yeah, maybe behind fear is this just friggin' immense love that it's more terrified of the love than
Yeah.
the fear. It's like so much. It's so full.
So I
Wow.
found out in the end, like what we do in our self-inquiry, what is this really? What actually is it? It's like this intense curiosity we bring to it. We find nothing is what we think it is. They're underneath everything or inside everything or as everything is this immensity of awareness or love, whatever we want to call it. And it's a very different way to live, isn't it?
Certainly the end of suffering. It's how much love can you take?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't
Thank
seen
you for
anyone
that.
explode yet from too much love, but sometimes it feels like it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing. It's beautiful. Thanks. Tanya,
Hello.
hi love.
I'm gonna try my best to keep it short, and I think I'm new to your platform, but not to you in particular. But I think I got a couple of things going on that are kind of commingled, and I'm not sure about it, I guess. So um, I have a lot of doing energy, and I always have. And since I've been on this journey, and especially since I've joined your platform for sure in the last few weeks, um, I've had some profound shifts, and I've noticed some things, and I think they're commingled.
Mm.
So one is this doer energy, and I mentioned this into one of the groups that meditation is like still meditation is very new to me, because I rock all the time, unless I'm in deep conversation like now. Um, and it's not particularly because I'm trying to soothe or anything. It's just, it's natural for me, like breathing.
Yeah.
So if I'm not rocking, I feel very constricted.
Mm.
And I've been playing in the past week and a half with revisiting being still in meditation, um, without nodding off constantly, because that happens. And I've had some success this week, but I've noticed since I've been in this still meditation that some things have bubbled to the surface. So, one thing that I've been dealing with quite heavily in the past little while, and it's probably worse than it has ever been. So, I'm struggling with this area of lack, and that would be finances.
Mm.
And it's very, very bad at the moment, and it's very scary, um, that it's as bad as it is. And I've also noticed with this doing energy that there are some areas where I thought I was doing things to help myself gain more income.
Mm.
But I have also noticed very recently that it's also commingled with needing to control certain situations.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so it's my way of, if I do this, then I can control this because it's the way I need it or want it. And when it's not, I'm very uncomfortable. And so I've pulled away from I'm pulling away from this doing energy. Like, I'm tired of the doing. I don't want to be doing. I know it's not accomplishing anything. And I've known from experience in the past that when I become to this place where I just don't know, and I'm at that place with my finances and with this doing energy, that I just don't know. And I'm not exactly sure of my question. I'm also nervous.
It's okay. Take your time. You're doing great.
In the last few days, I've been going into work and staying there for longer hours, going in earlier, trying to create some income, let's say, out of desperation. And with these new realizations in the last few days, I have stopped going into work early, and I've been sitting in the uncomfortable feeling of my thoughts saying, you need to go there, you need to do this, you need to do something. And at the same time, also realizing that there's this control issue at work. And that's also why I go into work early, because if I do it, then it's done right.
Yeah.
If I don't do it, then I'm uncomfortable and I feel discombobulated. So there's a commingling of a couple of situations.
Mm-hmm.
And in my meditations, that is very new to being sitting and being still because of the rocking and also the doing energy.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm trying to meet these two things
Yeah.
in this way.
What
And
does
when
it what does it mean to you to be still? What does that mean? Because excuse me, for me, it really it got very confusing. My body when I first started meditating this way that we do here, couldn't sit still at all, and it was just getting up and moving around the room constantly, and I would come sit back down, and then without realizing I'd gotten up again, and I was halfway into the kitchen, or on my phone, or you know how it goes. So, but I realized that that really isn't a failure in my meditation. If my body is moving, then the movement can help to contrast, not conflict, but contrast with the stillness that I am. Help me to recognize that body is moving inside something that isn't moving. So right now there's some invisible, formless, whatever this is, around this body. The body's moving. And that actually helps me to recognize the stillness by contrast. So I'm saying this because a lot of our doingness, our sense of doing or having to do something, can be about trying to undo this doer. How do I get rid of this doer? I don't like it. It should go away. And instead, if we just use the sense of having to do, you can feel it's like an energy, right? That's moving. It's like go, 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 and it's, as you pointed to, really wisely, it's a control thing that makes us feel safer somehow, right? If I can have my world the way I want it, then I'll be safer or something. And it's no coincidence that the areas of our life that are the most dysfunctional, or where we're experiencing the biggest sense of lack, is where there's a strongest sense of a doer. So the mind says, I'll keep doing until I get this problem sorted out. But the problem, the lack of money in my life, was a reflection of this sense of fear and a need to control. So eventually came to me the recognition that anything I try to do about the doer is just more doing, isn't it? So when we notice that, we can just, when we notice this urge, I've got to get up, go to work, need to do something to fix this. As you pointed to, just being with that as much as we can, just letting that uncomfortableness, that restlessness, that well, yeah, uncomfortableness is a good word that you used. Just kind of letting it happen to the best of our ability. And I realized every time I would get up and walk across the room and try to do something, that was an avoidance in some way of just being with this. I don't have to sit down with it literally, but can I just feel it? Rather than I can't deal with it. I have to go do something, you know. And it sounds like that's starting to happen for you, that you can just kind of be with it a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. That is true. And I've also found, like, in the past, that with the rocking or with the doing stuff, I've had some really profound experiences, because you're right, like there's a contrast there, and I noticed the contrast, like I'm moving, but there's something that is not moving, and I notice it. And there's, I want to say I can hold it, but that's not accurate.
Yeah.
For a
Are you
longer
moving though?
period of time.
Are you moving? Or is it the body that's moving?
The
You
body.
are aware of the body, right? You know the body. You know it's moving. You know it's rocking. You're the one that knows that sees that, is aware of it. Are you moving? Because this was the key for me to recognize that I wasn't restless. There was restlessness. But if I attribute that to myself, I'm the one that's restless or feeling the uncomfortableness. Actually, I don't know that that's true. It was just there was restlessness in the body. There was uncomfortableness in the body. But
Okay.
when I contrasted that gently, I found that I wasn't agitated at all. I am that stillness. Sometimes the more the body is agitated, the more we're able to see our inherent freedom, that we're already completely not doing anything. Can you get a sense of it now? If you notice what's aware of the body, what's aware even of this legendary doer that we all think we are. What knows that? What is it that knows that? Sees the body, sees the restlessness.
That which is still.
Which is you, right? You're the one that knows. You are the one that's still already.
So this forcing myself to be physically still.
Let the body move, right? Let the body move. Let it do what it wants to do. If you are stillness, there's nothing to achieve there then, right? And the body is agitated only from this idea that we are the doer. The body's doing, the mind's doing. But you are stillness already. Of course, we want the body to feel rested and peaceful, but whatever it's doing, stillness is still still. It's not moving. And paradoxically, the more we recognize this, the more the body starts to, just a little bit at first, just a little bit of relaxation. You feel something shifting as you look at it like this.
Yeah. Yeah. For the longest time, that's how I was seeing it and feeling it, I suppose. And then as of, I don't know, the last while, not too long, maybe it was my mind or something that started seeing it, that maybe it was an avoidance tactic that I've had all my life instead of what I actually thought that it was.
If you are the stillness, can you control what the body does at all?
No.
And do you need to? Stillness, awareness, whatever we're calling it, is if it's anything, it's just completely here with what is. It's got no urge or ability to control the body at all. It's totally letting everything be exactly as it is, including our body and our mind. For me, seeing through this illusion that I have been the one that's trying to control and, keep everything safe, and keep everything as, this is the way it needs to be. I'm the one that's been doing all this effort and this extra work and everything. I had to admit that that wasn't true, actually. That I can't say I've really done anything. My body has done a lot. But anything that the body does from that place of stillness, where we know who we are as stillness, anything the body does from there is going to be incredibly effective. That the disturbance in our emotions and our body, the contractions and the disturbance in our finances and relationships or wherever it's showing up, the dis-ease in those places is a reflection of the dis-ease of thinking that we are the doer, the one doing. And it's not really true, is it? You haven't really done anything. What have you done? As stillness.
Nothing.
And yet somehow this conversation and this unfolding and unraveling is going on by itself, right? The bodies know what to do. They know what to do. There's literally nothing to undo here either. We just see, wow, that was kind of I was having a really bad dream that I had to do all this stuff. And then on the pathway that I have to undo all this stuff, right? We're kind of trying to undo more than anything.
So as I'm listening to what you're saying and I'm having this understanding, then why is it that in this very moment everything has like contracted so tightly at the moment? If I like so tightly.
It's an opportunity right now. Life is giving you immediately an opportunity to live as what you just saw to be true. Because the body, very tight, very contracted. The mind says we've got to do something about this. We've got to change it. And in this moment, if we just experience that stillness again, where there's literally nothing we can or need to do about whatever's going on in manifestation, the contractions by themselves begin to open up and begin to relax. It's like life is asking us, right now in this moment, who do you want to live as? A person that has to somehow manage this process, or as stillness?
Stillness.
Well, just resting here for a moment with me, because this is useful to everyone. Just staying as stillness now. Let's see what actually happens to the body when we just rest as stillness. Recognizing that which is not doing anything. What effect does that have on the body?
There's a slight like recoil.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of what it feels like.
Yeah, just staying with it. Just noticing the stillness in which the body's appearing.
There's a sense around this tightness.
Yeah.
That feels spacious at the same time.
Yeah. Just staying with it just a little longer. We're just curious as to what happens here when we just remain as stillness. And we don't go into imagination that we can do something to fix this.
My thoughts getting in the way and just tell me that I'm not in stillness, I'm zoning out. But
it's okay. It's what the mind is saying. It's nothing wrong with that. We'll just hang out here as stillness. And let the thoughts go through the stillness. Just thoughts coming and going. What can you do with thoughts as stillness? Can you even interact with thoughts as stillness?
no.
They're just coming and going, right?
Yes.
Nothing you need to do anything about, nor could you.
There's a spaciousness. I feel tight in the body, but there's a
But you're
space there.
experiencing that tightness as stillness, not as a person, right? For the first time, we're actually experiencing that the body can just be tight, and we're not in any attempt at all to change it. We're just here as stillness. And it feels very different in a way.
Yeah.
And all that happens is that finally, as we're resting as stillness, the body can actually feel the tightness and the fear and the tension that it's needed to feel. But it couldn't kind of really fully do that and let it dissipate while we were doing these mental gymnastics trying to fix things. So the tension might be there, the contractions, the tightness. And it was like, for me, my body was finally just able to feel it, just feel it. But it wasn't that I was suffering then, because I was experiencing it as the stillness. It's very different. There's no suffering.
Yeah. It's it's still very tight as it was before, but you're
And it's also completely different, right? The same, but very different.
yeah, it's bizarre.
And it'll be tight for as long as it needs to be tight for. And somehow my body got this message finally that it was okay to be exactly as it was. And it in that paradoxically it began to relax. Just a little bit at a time. And we can ask, excuse me, we can ask the body, just asking, we're just going to ask a stillness. We're not forcing anything. We can't. Just ask the body, if you want to, would you like to relax a little bit? Just inside, gently, would you like to relax a little bit? And if the answer's no, if it tightens up, that's perfectly okay. If the answer's yes and it relaxes a little bit, that's perfectly okay. We're just curious. Would you like to relax a little bit? But there's no forcing, because we're the stillness. We can't force anything. We're intangible stillness.
Yes, there's a relaxing a little bit.
You can just ask it again. That's wonderful. Would you like to relax a little bit more? Totally okay if yes, totally okay if no.
And this asking of the body, this isn't like playing like a mind game of some sort with.
No, it's really just a way of being with what is, isn't it? It's just a way of being with what is as stillness. We want the body to relax, but we're not able to force it or do anything. And paradoxically, then it will relax a little bit. And just piece by piece, the muscles just began to let go for me. Because somehow, I don't know, the cells felt safer or something, because I was finally not, my body had to live out this idea that I was a separate being, that I was doing all this stuff. And that's what the tension was. The reflection of this sense of having to do, or not doing enough, or doing too much, or whatever. And finally, I wasn't entertaining that illusion anymore of just being a stillness like this. And the body can start to realign itself with its own intelligence then.
There's a lot of relaxation happening slowly.
Yeah. And little by little like this, as there's more peace and joy inside, more relaxation. That can reflect as an abundance of the things we need outside. Well, we need something desperately inside. I need to relax. I need to let go. It seems real, right? I need to let go, but the stillness is not real at all. And our world can begin to right itself then.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to do this with me or explore this, because it's everybody's question again, isn't it? That we're all trying to do something. We think we're trying to do something. Yeah. Yeah, enjoy it. Enjoy it. Thank you. Okay, we'll go to Richa and then Wendy after.
Hi, Helen.
Hi, love.
So, when I had raised my hand, there was a strong emotion, and I felt that I can't handle it. And there was a lot of chatter about, so something happened at work and it kind of triggered something in me. And mostly the thoughts are around that I should speak up, I should not allow this to happen, and this isn't right. And then you begin to talk with handling the strong emotions. So it felt perfect.
Apparently there's only one of us, right?
Yeah. And so at this moment that so what was majorly troubling, I guess, was that the sense of I was very strong, that I shouldn't like I had to do a lot of things around it. I had to take action. And I was also contemplating, I was also inquiring that, this is there is nobody else. So this is trying to teach me something. What do I need to look at? And if there is no separation, then this is just arising and I just need to look at it. But at the same time, I was not able to look at it as well. But at this point, that I has kind of mellowed down. So I'm able to handle it as compared to an hour before. But the question that remains is that how do I differentiate? So I still want to do something about it, but it's not coming from a place of the separate sense of I solving a problem. But I feel that this is the right thing to do, and I should speak up. It's so like you talk about that Durga and Shiva energy also, wherein you want that anger is justified in some cases. So how do I differentiate between that expression versus something which needs just to be felt and transmuted and not expressed?
Ultimately, if you're going to say something about it, let's say you've been treated unfairly and there's an urge arising, I should say something about it. As we were just saying with Tanya, there is no doer. There is no there is no separate being that could do anything. And there is no chooser whether to do this or not. It will either happen or it won't. Ultimately, that's the truth, right? Next time you find yourself with that person, you'll either say something, the body will say something, or it won't. But for me, it was also helpful to realize that if I want to say something, if the urge is arising to say something, I can examine how that makes me feel. So let's say, somebody's treated me unfairly and this urge arises to say to them, that's not really fair. I really would like you not to do that again or something. if that urge arises within me and it makes me feel some sense of restriction or constriction or something, then usually it's because I'm coming from the place of separation when I think about doing it. And I might be thinking about saying something so that I can feel more justified as a separate being. But if I'm thinking about saying this to this person and it feels more expansive, more open, or there's just, if it just happens, my mouth just moves to speak it, then it's because it's how the stillness wants to move as the form, isn't it? It's how awareness wants to express itself. Really, it's not what's happened to you that's agitating you. It's this idea that you can choose whether to say something or not here that's agitating you. Because it really feels like I really should say something. And I don't think that I can. And that idea is so false to us, who we really are, that it agitates the body, the nervous system gets agitated. You can feel it, right? It's like I have to do something.
Yeah, yeah, I can relate with that. So basically, because I can feel it in my entire body that there's something going on, and I'm not able to, I don't know what to say, and there are a lot of conflicting thoughts that should I say, should I not say? And
But can you
so
find
is it that
any person at all that could decide that, what to say? When you look when you look for yourself, can you find anyone that could choose like this, what to say, or even if to say something?
no?
And it's that entertaining of the illusion that we can choose that is really agitating us, right? If it's supposed to happen, it will be said, and it'll be said in a way that's the best possible way it could be said.
Yeah, so on the one hand, there is this understanding, but the way the system is responding to it is different. So do I can just be with it and it will settle down, and then whatever action has to arise will arise.
Yeah, remembering that the system is only the energy system, the nervous system, the body is only ever agitated from the thoughts that we're holding on to about something, rather than the thing itself. So the more we entertain, what should I say? Should I have said this? I should have said something yesterday. I'm going to say it tomorrow when I go into work, or, all of that is just like picking up our energy and just kind of shaking it like this, like a bottle of Coca-Cola or something that we've, shooken up completely. So self-inquiry, of course, like we just did, looking for that person who could decide and not finding them, helps the system calm down, because whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And we aren't really in control of that as a separate being, of course. It's the subtle ways we're holding on to that illusion that I could decide even what to say. I mean, how much do we torment ourselves by running through conversations in our head, trying to get it right? And really, it's just a bunch of thoughts, right? Thoughts thinking about thoughts.
Yeah. And so when the emotion is very strong, so like, though I was listening to you from beginning to end, but I was still losing myself into these thoughts, and I was coming back, and every time I would hear it, it is what I needed to hear, because that would calm my system.
It's all gone in though, even if you think you weren't hearing it all, it's all gone in there. Because there's no separate being to block it. You really cannot get this wrong, right? You cannot get this wrong.
And sorry, just give me a minute.
It's okay. It's okay. We are we're all here with you. It's paradoxical that when we realize there's nothing we can do, whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen, that what happens is always for our highest good, and from the recognition that there is no separate doer. Whatever the body does is exactly what's right for us. There's every likelihood of your body saying something to this person and having a positive response from it, from there.
Yeah, and also that how much I listen and how much I don't is also, I can't do anything about that as well, right?
Mm-hmm. And if I were you, when I am you, but if I were in your position right now, I would doubt even this idea that sometimes you're listening and sometimes you're not. I would doubt that. Rather than trying to fix, how do I make sure I listen properly all the time? See if it's actually true that you're not really listening sometimes. Sometimes you're lost in thoughts. It feels like that, right? It seems like that, but awareness cannot switch itself off. It's always listening, always seeing, always experiencing.
Yeah,
We put
I think it was
way
just,
too... Go ahead, sorry.
I think it was just a lot for the body to handle. So
Yeah.
now it feels okay.
Because the more we've seen who we are, and the more that we're coming to live from that place, the worse it feels when we entertain some thoughts of doing, right? It feels like the body's like, ooh, I don't like this at all. Got used to some peace, a little bit of peace, and and then the system gets agitated with these thoughts, and it's like, ooh, the body says, can we go back to truth, please? You think you can relax a bit now and rest a little bit?
Yeah. Thank you, Helen.
Thank you, love. Good to talk to you. Thank you for sharing so bravely. Okay, we'll finish with Wendy. Hi, love. You're still muted there, I think. There we go.
Sorry. Hi, Helen. It's
Hi.
really nice to meet you. This
Nice
is
to
the
meet you.
first time. I'm kind of nervous and excited to meet you because it's the first time.
Well, it's just the one being, right, talking to itself. Yeah.
So I attended your retreat, which was absolutely wonderful and very much resonate with you. I'm going to join your Sangha group too. So I've been kind of on this path for about 20 years, but I have not had any group or any teacher ever.
Wow.
So I've done it mostly through books and a lot of reading, a lot of study.
And
that
that
kind of
sounds very
thing.
similar to my own journey. It's just
Yeah, I started with A Course in Miracles, but got on the non-dual path more about like 5, 6 years ago or so. But the question I have is about memory, because I'm at that age where it's like, is this happening because I'm like maybe need to see a doctor, or maybe it's normal? And I wanted to see if you could speak to that. So one of the things that happens is that I've gotten very it's taken me a while, quite a while, but I've gotten very comfortable sitting in fear and welcoming it and just being with it, that kind of thing. But what I've noticed a few times is that I have a really strong emotion, really strong trigger, and then I'll go to sit in being, just, and just be with it, sit with it and feel it and everything. And sometimes it's almost like what you'd see in a TV show or something where they're kind of showing something dissolve. You get that sensation thing. That's happened a few times where it's dissolved right in the midst of doing it. And for the life of me, when I try to take it later and integrate it, it's just gone. Like, like I'd have no memory of it even.
Yeah,
That's
like it
happened
was
a few
never
times.
there. Like it was
What's that?
like it was never there somehow.
Yeah.
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 I don't know if that's normal. It doesn't happen all the time like that, but it's happened a few times. Or, so that's one thing. That's one way. And then the other thing is that one of my biggest triggers is my children, of course, and
Oh, I remember that
like
one. Yeah.
my greatest joy and my greatest suffering.
Our biggest teachers, aren't they? Our children.
Yeah. And so I had been working on this one thing in particular with one of my sons. And it happened again, and I didn't get triggered. And so I thought, when I got off the texting from him, I thought about an hour or 2 hours later, I thought, I wasn't even bothered by that. And then I talked myself back into suffering. I caught myself doing that, saying, oh, this doesn't feel normal. Like, I should be mad. I should be upset about that, or I should be mad about that, but I wasn't. And so then I realized what I was doing. And so I just kind of stopped. I just stopped doing it. But so that's kind of my question too, is that like what I do is I kind of get, because I've had this ongoing from very young thing of something's wrong. Or like some of my low-grade anxiety would be, I don't even know what triggered me, nothing, but I could be just sitting there watching TV at night, and then this low-grade anxiety will kind of come up, and it's kind of like I've learned to sit in it and figure out that it's like I had this thing from very young. Something's either going to go wrong or is wrong. And then, so I've gotten used to sitting in that, and that has sort of dispersed quite a bit. But so I get this thing about, oh, that doesn't feel normal. And I'm worried that if I do shift into oneness kind of thing, that I will be like trying to undo it by going, oh, this doesn't feel right. This isn't normal, kind of thing.
Yeah, and it it helped me to recognize when some of the big triggers in my own journey, that whatever it is that happens and we get this huge response inside, as that starts to dissipate, or it doesn't happen at all. The first time it doesn't happen at all, the same person says the same thing or does the same thing as usual, and kind of nothing goes on inside. I was like, wow, that's amazing. And then the very next thing that happened for me was this sense of, well, the mind said you're going to be cold. You won't care about those other beings if you're not going to, like, you're just avoiding feeling it. And I had to actually look, and I'm not avoiding, actually, it just isn't there. It just isn't
Right.
there anymore. That kind of, and I kind of came up across this thought that awakening is is our natural state. We're just returning to our natural state. But it is also very, very different than how we have lived. We have lived from one trigger to the next, right? Like a ticking time bomb, just waiting to be. And this anxiety that you spoke about, for me, was also there, always. From my very first memory, remember feeling this fear, sometimes in the background, sometimes very much in the foreground. At any minute now, something is going to go really wrong. And I'm just kind of waiting for it to happen on some level. And later it clarified into a feeling of that there's something wrong with me, and any minute now everyone's going to recognize it, and I'll be on my own. I'll
Yeah.
be, something like that, and everyone's going to see right through me and say, realize I'm not the person that they thought I was, and not in the spiritual sense, like there is no person, literally that
Right.
I'm a fake or something.
Yeah.
And that was what where the contemplation that we do comes from, because I realized I could never experience that kind of deep peace while I had this idea inside that if I looked at what this fear, this anxiety was trying to tell me, it was this deep sense that there's something flawed about me, right? Can you feel that kind of, and you're kind of on guard the whole time, for just waiting for someone or something to recognize what we feel is true inside, that there's something
Right.
really messed up about us. And so we ask this question, we turn this belief into a question: is that actually true, that there's something wrong with me? And as we question it rather than believing it, the body just begins to open up, and the trigger just isn't there then. But we can also, as you pointed to rather, even the willingness to just meet these feelings, sometimes that's enough. That they have only survived within us because we, whenever it arises, so you're sitting there on the sofa watching the telly, and this anxiety arises. Also, at the same time, there's this thing inside that pushes it. I don't want this. I don't want to feel like this. In those moments when we can actually turn towards it instead, whatever that means for us, there's no sense of separation from the anxiety in that moment, and it can immediately begin to transmute itself. It's like anxiety itself is on a journey to awakening, and it just needs us to feel it rather than avoiding it, to meet it with a yes rather than this no, that is just instinctual. Nobody wants to feel bad. But as our awakening deepens, there's more of a capacity, as you were pointing to actually just be with it. And when we can do that, as we were saying before, being the awareness, there's no separation between ourselves and that feeling, and it's immediately changing. And sometimes I was just about to journal about something I was feeling, and it's just gone. I can't even remember what it was.
Yeah.
It's disappeared. Sometimes it would come back again. I had to be with it a few times for it had gone completely, but it's in our contemplation, our meditation, are all just ways of being with it, with whatever it is. Naturally, more and more, as you're living more authentically as who you are, just even the desire to be with something, it is enough. It will have evaporated in that moment. You kind of feel it, right?
No, you don't think I have Alzheimer's then?
No, I mean, if you're worried, if the mind's worried, of course, go to the doctor and check it out. But if you have, then I have, because one of the things that started to happen for me was that my memory just wasn't there as awakening deepened. If you
Yeah.
ask me right now what I had for breakfast this morning, I can't tell you. I'd have to
Really?
really, really sit and think about it. If you ask me what I said in
Okay.
the last sentence, I won't be able to tell you. It's gone. It's just gone. There's no person who is remembering. Remembering is an act of a separate being, and recalling. So when awakening deepens, we find that we don't have access to that recall like we used to. So it has to be different. If I need to know something or remember something, there's like an intention to know it. And then it will pop in there. Oh, I just remembered now, I skipped breakfast this morning. I forgot to have any. But that didn't come to me through efforting, trying to remember. And there's some really weird times. I'd be driving the car back from school, 20 years doing school runs. I'm sure you know what that's like.
Yeah.
And I drive down the same road as I've done 1,000 times or more. Always turn left at the end of this road. But I'm driving and I just could not remember which way to go. And it was really bizarre. It's like because the recall function was not there. So there was this waiting to see which way does and as I got towards the end of the junction, the indicator went on and like the hands turned the wheel to the left. It was like, okay, we're going left. But it's kind of just more, it's a little unsettling at first.
Yeah.
Because it's a different way of functioning than we used to. Well, you're not being a person holding all this stuff, this is the way home from school. It's just unfolding as you go. And there's a sense most times I've never driven down this road before. It feels new because there's no sense of time, or less and less sense of time. So again, if you're worried about it, get it checked out. But it just helps the mind to settle a little bit. But there's no time for awareness. There's no personal actions, right, in awareness. So there's nothing stored in here that you're recalling. There's no filing cabinet and the guys running around trying to find the right fact,
Yeah.
bring it back to you. But it just arises. If it needs to be known, it will just arise and you'll just suddenly know it, right, without efforting.
Right. Okay.
It is a bit of a
That was
weird
my
shift
mind to
over.
be. With that?
It is a bit of a weird shift over though, sometimes.
It is. And I was just worried that when the major shift happens, that I might, because I had a Satori, like a really powerful one, like many years ago, and I didn't know anything about enlightenment or anything. So it kind of just happened and it stayed for months. But I think if I had known at the time what it was and helped it had like a teacher or somebody that could have could have told me what was going on. But I think what happened was my mind just eventually came back in and just took over anyway because I didn't have a clue.
Well, for many of us, might have a little taste of it like that, and the mind has to come back in, not because we've done something wrong, but because we have to then look at all the stuff we couldn't look at as a someone. So these emotions that we're talking about, right? From the place of what's real, we can actually be with these things and meet them. But the mind will say, "Oh, you did something wrong. You screwed it up.
Right.
Now I've gone back into the old way."
Right.
Not really.
Right.
It's just that shift has happened for you. That much is very clear to me. And not waiting for a big moment like that again, right? Awakening is so ordinary most times.
Yeah. But yeah, when I recognized my true nature, I just kind of went, oh my God. Wasn't a big explosive moment. It was just like, how can I miss that?
Yeah.
What?
You actually feel a little embarrassed, right? You're like,
Yeah.
how did I miss that?
Yeah.
All these years. But so, those big experiences, if they last for a while, they can be very flashy and all of that and exciting. But most times I find myself telling people that they're much more awakened than they realize they are because they're
Right.
waiting for some big moment. But in the meantime, they're saying things like, I just turned towards this emotion and it vanished.
Yeah.
Only the real self would do that, would want to actually be with something difficult, to be
Right.
have the capacity to stay with it. So
Okay. That's very helpful.
And these are things we all go through, right? It's very different. Even though this is who we really are and have always been,
Yeah.
actually living from this place is a little different to what we used to. So
Yeah, but if
good to
you like,
talk.
I don't really have anyone to talk to about it, so I don't know what's, normal and not normal kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you found out your way to us, and
I found the perfect group.
you're very, very welcome in the community, as is everyone. So,
Yeah.
and that's really, why we created the community, why I wanted a community, is because I didn't have that either when I was waking up, and it was really probably a lot more painful and drawn out than it needed to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah,
Right.
glad to have you with us.
Yes, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Wonderful. Okay, beautiful place to finish satsang today, and thank you for all of your authentic and open sharing, and your honesty and your courage, and most of all your commitment to the path and to the truth of who you are. And just, if there's one thing we can take with us today, let's just take with us that if there is no separate being, we can't mess this up. That's always a huge relief to me on my journey. I might think I'm screwing it up, but in actuality, it's never been so. Thank you. Namaste.